All right, guys. So as we're talking about compressors, this is a compressor from a Samsung, and as you can see, if you look at the marking, 240 volts. Okay, that tells you right away that this compressor is controlled by an inverter, so you do not want to put a hard start or any typical starting device. It uses an inverter, and you have to replace the inverter or check the compressor. Okay, this one as well, okay, is just an Embarco, and if you look at the voltage, 230 volts. Okay, this, you cannot use it as well. And another sign would be, if you look right there, there's a pin. Okay, right there, that's a grounding pin. So a lot of times you'll see that. So these compressors, you cannot use a hard start on them. Now this one here you can, and you will see, actually I will have the video where you can see the compressor coming on, but this one you can, as you can see, it's 115. So this one you can definitely use a hard start. So if your refrigerator is equipped with this type of compressor, then you can. But note, do not use hard start on any other compressors. You will damage them. All right, guys, so now we're connected. This compressor is not in anything, so we're gonna run it. Now, this is basically if you have a refrigerator and you're not totally sure if your compressor is good, you can buy a hard start. Okay, there's a part number. I will leave a link to it and how to make one of these. It's probably one of the best way to verify if your compressor is working. Okay, now you will need a cord. You can get a cord from Home Depot, Lowe's, or just cut one off of an old appliance or whatever. And so you have two black wires on this. Okay, doesn't matter which they go. And on your cord, you're gonna have two wires. Use wire nuts, connect them, tape them, and you're good to go. Okay, normally your wire's gonna have a white and a black, and sometime a green. Don't worry too much about the green for now. Okay, and what you do, you just connect them to the black. You're gonna have these guys that are separate. It's gonna be a black, red, and a white, and those you'll connect here. If you look here, you'll have instructions on how to do it. Okay, just follow the directions. Pay attention to the pinout on the compressor as it is on the hard start, and you just put them there accordingly. Make sure they're not touching. It's almost impossible to make them touch, but just make sure they're not touching. All right, so what you're trying to do is, if your compressor on your refrigerator, let's say your fridge is not cooling, so it's not icing up, but it's not cooling, and that is usually both departments, the fresh food and the freezer. So it could be a hard start, or it could be a board issue. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna unplug your refrigerator. You're gonna take the start relay off, set it to the side, make sure the fridge is unplugged. Now, nothing's gonna work on the refrigerator, nothing except the compressor. If the compressor is good, it will run. Now, you can run the compressor for, I don't know, 10 minutes. Just let it run, and put your hand on top of it. It should be warm, not super hot. Touch the coils or the copper tubes, and you'll feel them getting warm. Also, the condenser, you can actually touch those with your hand and feel if you feel them getting warm. If they're getting warm, that tells you that the compressor is now removing the heat from your refrigerator, and you probably just need to replace the start device or the board that is associated with supplying the voltage to that. Just make sure that if your refrigerator has a box on it, usually gray, you cannot use this on it, okay? Those are inverters, and if you connect this to it, you will damage the compressor. And you'll need a new fridge pretty much. So, only on these compressors. Again, you will take a look at the label, 115, 120 volts, or 127, whatever. Those are the only compressors you can use hard starts on. So now we're going to plug this one in and take a listen. All right, it was on a timer and the timer just turned off, but you heard it running, and I'm going to turn it back on again so you can hear it. Now let's say you had yours running and you notice it's not pumping, then your compressor is frozen on the inside and you'll need to replace the compressor. So I'm going to check this and make sure that everything's connected up there, and we'll plug it back in. If not, then this compressor is also bad. Alright guys, so it is running. It should turn back on shortly. So they have an overload inside a compressor, inside of a start device, and sometimes when you turn them off and on, you want to wait a couple minutes and then they'll cycle back on. You can, I just heard it clicked, so the compressor will start shortly. Alright, as you can see, it's pumping, but it has no oil. So this compressor is very weak, but it is running. And this is what you do with your units. And you should check the evaporator coils on the inside, and they should be nice and frosty, not fully iced over, but usually within an hour everything should be nice and frosty. I will include a picture of how it should look, and that will give you a good idea whether or not your compressor is pumping and doing its job. So you can smell the oil, so it is pumping, but we're not suctioning. I don't feel any suction at all. But also this is kinked over here, so I can feel the warmth. So it is definitely moving, but you don't want to keep running them like that. All right. All right, guys, so this is nothing more than sometimes you have a job and your compressor is clicking out, or you just basically, this is just a diagnostic tool, okay? That's a hard start, and this fridge is actually being chunked, and it had some compressor issue. So what I have here is a jumper lead, and you can actually just run the compressor by itself. Nothing else will work. The fan will not work. The board is out. There's no board. So the unit is basically just the heart that is pumping, no brain. So I'm gonna plug it in, take a listen to the compressor. Board is not there. And this compressor would run and it would just stop. When the board was installed, So now I'm doing a final test to see how long it actually stays running for. I forgot the amp draw. The amp draw was pretty high. Now you can make one of these pretty easily. For example, if you're not sure if your compressor is good and you don't know how to test your compressor, you get a 3-in-1. I will link it. You get an extension cord or a power cord, and you connect the black to black, the white to white, and well, actually you connect the two blacks to your power leads right here. Doesn't matter, they're live right now, but you just wire nut them, connect them, and you're good to go. And then you just follow the instruction on the 3-in-1. Now 3-in-1s are okay, but they're not ideal for running the compressor. Not for a long time. Not a big fan of them. They're okay, but not long term.
So this is a very good method, especially if you're not totally sure what is going on with the compressor. So you can rule the compressor either good or bad. Just make sure you have a good solid connection between your hard start and your test lead cord. Connect everything good, and if you connect that to the compressor should run. If your compressor is running and it's warm and your fridge is not super old and you haven't taken a sharp object to the evaporator cover or any stuff like that, there's a good chance that your evaporator will start frost up, which is what you want. I will show a picture of what it looks like when everything is working properly in the freezer section. All right, guys, so this could be basically an experiment for you to do. Now, if you do have the hard start or 3-in-1 and you get your compressor running, that pretty much is telling you that you have a problem with your start device. You could do two things. You can cut the wires. I don't recommend it, and just connect that and use it. I'm not a big fan of them. Or you can leave that connected and order your factory part. Basically, tape or secure the wires from your start device and plug the fridge back in. The fan should run to keep the compressor cool, and the compressor will run. Now, you will have to cycle the compressor, meaning unplug the compressor and let it cool down for about 20-30 minutes, and then you can plug it back in and so forth until your part comes in. All right, I will include a photo at the end and you will see what the frost pattern on your evaporator should look like. If it does not look like that, if it has maybe just a little ball in the top corner, that means you have a restriction and your system is pretty much done. It's going to require more work than normal do-it-yourselfer. Thanks for watching.